Okay, I'm going to start speaking, so if you want to, please welcome Ambassador on. Good to see you. Let's start with a few housekeeping items. First, start eating your salad. We're on a tight roll today. We want to make sure that you eat your food in time for the program to start. Second, anyone wishing to tweet this event, please use hashtag KADAY. And also, before you leave today's event, please stop by to pick up your free 2-day museum pass. There's a voucher for your passes inside the program on your plate. You must hand this voucher to one of our staff in order to get the museum pass. Only one pass per person. We're privileged to have with us this afternoon our distinguished 2016 honorees and many other prominent officials. Too many to name them all. However, because of a family medical emergency, unfortunately, Edward Lee will not be present with us today. His mother was on her way to Korea and apparently had a stroke at the LA airport. So our thoughts and prayers are with the family. I'm sure you all join with me in sending our best wishes to the Lee family as they deal with this crisis. In addition, I want to recognize Councilmember Grace Hahn Wolf. Is she here? Here, Grace, thank you for coming, from the town of Herndon, Virginia. She is one of our growing number of U.S. elected officials of Korean descent. Glad to have you here. I also see other distinguished U.S. ambassadors in the office. Ambassador Joseph D. Trani. Joe, where are you? Over here? Stand up so we can see you. Thank you, Joe. Ambassador Tom Hubbard. And Ambassador Bob King. Also, Mark Lambert, Director of the Office of Korea Affairs at the State Department. Good to have you with us, Mark. I'd also like to acknowledge two of my former colleagues, Congressman Bart Gordon of Tennessee. We served in the House together. He chaired the House Science and Technology Committee. And Mark Kennedy of Minnesota, who is at GWU. Mark is the only Republican named Kennedy ever to serve in the House of Representatives. We're later going to be joined today by Congressman Charlie Rango, depending on votes. Charlie represents the 13th District of New York. He's best known for his valiant service during the Korean War. He was awarded the Purple Heart and Bronze Star. He's a genuine Korean War hero, and this is Charlie's last, tonight, Charlie. Charlie's last term. There only comes with that big smile. So there are only 3 Korean War veterans left in the House, and this is Charlie's last year in office. And Charlie, we appreciate your being able to join us. We're also to have 3 of our distinguished board members here today. Dr. Tae-Soo Kang, where is T.S.? Is he here yet? Okay. Dr. Yoon-Chin Park. And David Steinberg of Georgetown University. David is the foremost expert on Burma in the world. Also would like to have a special shout out and thanks to Linda Kim Butcher. Linda, where are you? Where is she? There she is. Linda has been with KEI now for 4 years. She helped make this day possible. She's been of indispensable help for Korean American Day for the past several years. She's moving upward, I guess, to become the executive director of the International Student Conferences. It's not for profit, she takes checks. Linda, we wish you well on your new endeavor, and now her skills will be put to use in promoting dialogue and understanding among international students from the U.S. and Northeast Asia. Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much for your service. Well, I've got a bunch of other things to say here, but Charlie is on a very tight schedule. Charlie, I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Okay, then I'm going to ring the gong, and I'm going to stand next to you to enforce the rule on it. You know how that goes. Ladies and gentlemen, a standing ovation for our great patriot, Charlie Rango. 감사합니다.
And you're in for a big treat as Don tries to wrestle the microphone for me in 2 minutes. This is going to be good. You haven't seen combat yet. I am so honored to be here, Don. I want to thank you for your continuous support for this great cause. And one of the most outstanding members of the diplomatic corps, to be here with you and all of you. To give me the honor to express how lucky I am to be an American and to be a part of that United Nations force that stopped a tyrant from invading Koreans, their brothers and sisters, with an immoral, imaginary line that was drawn in the 38th parallel. And as being American, and being in the military, and being a part of morally saying thank you, and seeing what has happened as a result of that effort, to see the moral reward that not I get as an individual, not our military, and not just our country, but the entire world to actually see with blood, with sweat, with tears, what can happen when tyranny and democracy is not present, and how a nation that has been crushed with everything except morality can pick up the pieces and have the aspirations to bring democracy and peace to that area. And to find that the United States of America, who did not know how the outcome would be, or the loss of lives, the cost that it has been, to find that we have not only found one of our great trade partners through the Korean trade agreement, but in terms of our national security, international security, to know that we have a friend in this part of the world that we will always have. What a great reward we got just for doing the right thing. As we conclude this great President of the United States last year, and my honor that there is to have joined with him, and to recognize that in our country, a youthful country, not with the country like Korea that have thousands of years of stories to tell, most all of them true. But some of us have no stories to tell. We can't even make them up. But what we do have in this young country of ours to know is that when we had slavery, that we had a president to come out with that same background to be president of the United States of America. What a message to send to the world that a young country like this could do it. And we could not have done it without people like Dr. Martin Luther King, who's fighting the rights for all Americans to make themselves stronger by disregarding the differences that we have in color. And so in conclusion, Don, I say that I'm going to be working hard after I leave the Congress to seek out a Korean Dr. King. And this Korean American Dr. King will say that he has a dream. That he has a dream that one day the great country of Korea will be united. That he has a dream that Koreans from the north and from the south won't be separated by an imaginary line or by doctrine. That he would have a dream that Koreans will be able to visit their families and to recognize that this is a great nation. That Korean Americans will continue to make the gigantic contribution they've made to our economy. And he would have the dream that they will continue to do all they can to strengthen the ties of Koreans that they have come from in Korea, both from the north and the south. And Martin Luther King would also say in Korean that he has the dreams that the pain that this country has had in the Civil War, between the North and the South, the pain that still we suffer from, that God would bless the great country of Korea, that once you are united, that pain would be removed and substituted with morality, with blessings, with a strong economy, and that democracy will continue to reign. God bless Korea, God bless Korean Americans, and God bless the United States of America. 감사합니다.
I had lost my place here. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, John.
Oh, all right. I can pick this up. I'm Don Manzutto, the president and CEO of KEI, and served as a member of Congress for 20 years, representing Northern Illinois. For 6 years, I chaired the Small Business Committee. And during my final years in office, I chaired the Asian Pacific Subcommittee on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. From the time I first was sworn in 1993, I was attracted to the dynamicism of Korea, which serves as a beacon of free markets and democracy, not just in Northeast Asia, but the rest of the world. KEI's mission is simple. It's to promote dialogue and understanding between the U.S. and the Republic of Korea on all matters affecting the relationship. KEI serves as a bridge among the academic, business, diplomatic, policy, and civic communities of those interested in Korea. We continue to promote that vision today. We come to tell the story of Korea's rich and unique contribution to the American experience. Ever since the first Korean immigrants landed on America's shores over 100 years ago, they have greatly contributed to the vitality and vibrancy of the United States. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, there are over 1.7 million residents of Korean descent living in the United States. The Korean community here is involved in all sectors of the American experience, from academia to acting, from public service to sports, and yes, to small business. And I met many Korean Americans as I chaired that committee. This year's focus is on food. Not the lunch before you, hope it's good, but those who are involved in making Korean food popular in the United States. My parents had an Italian restaurant. They had not evolved with my brother to the point where we offered kimchi pizza, but I'm sure if they were still in business, that would be on their menu. The food industry is very near and dear to my heart. I was raised in the restaurant business beginning at age 4 when I ran the cash register at my dad's grocery store, which had a small lunchroom attached to it. So you may ask, why are we highlighting food today? The answer is simple. The restaurant sector contributes significantly to the U.S. economy. According to the National Restaurant Association, every $1 spent in restaurants results in an additional $2 in sales for other industries. Restaurants symbolize small business and entrepreneurship. About 90% of all restaurants in the U.S. have 50 or fewer workers. And 90% of all restaurant managers started off as entry-level employees. Plus, about half of all the adults in the U.S. have worked in the restaurant industry at some point in their lives. Korean food is becoming more and more popular in the United States. You can go on to Connecticut Avenue and get a kimchi burrito, which not only is good, I haven't had one yet, but is a real definition of who we are in America. According to Statista, one of the world's largest statistical portals, Korean cuisine was forecasted by professional chefs as one of the top 10 leading trends in ethnic cuisines on restaurant menus in the United States. IBIS, a leading publisher of business intelligence, not only confirmed this trend, but predicts that this development will accelerate for the next 5 years. Marja opened another restaurant. Korean restaurants generated $2 billion in revenue in 2014. Think about that. Korean restaurants generated $2 billion in revenue in 2014. That's just direct generation of sales. And experienced an annual growth rate higher than the overall economy. According to IBIS, Korean restaurants employed 21,460 individuals at over 3,700 business locations throughout the U.S., with most of those being located in Annandale, Virginia. Oh, no, I threw that in there. But obviously it makes the Korean restaurants, the establishments that are the epitome of small restaurants. There are a lot of Korean restaurants in Annandale. But as Ambassador An will remind us, this is more than economics. More people eating Korean food represents the growing comfort level Americans have about Korea and the Korean people. That's why this event is important today, because it not only captures the economic importance of the Korean food industry in America, the special role of Korean Americans in promoting Korean food, but also it deepens the overall affection Americans have for Korea. So if the Korean restaurants are growing and our economy is not growing too well, maybe we should open more Korean restaurants and get more Americans introduced to Korean food, and we can eat our way out of any recession that may be in the future. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Ambassador An Ho Young. Did you finish your salad, Ambassador?
Just now.
Okay, good for you. He's a graduate of Seoul National University, received his master's at the School of Foreign Service down the street at Georgetown University. He went on to serve in the government of the Republic of Korea for 35 years, primarily in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We used to know it as MOFAT back then, focusing on economic and trade issues. I met him in Korea. We talked for an hour. A year later, I said, oh my gosh, that man that gave me an hour of his time is now the ambassador to the United States, and what a joy it has been, Ambassador, to work with you. He was appointed ambassador to the U.S. in 2013, but this is not his first time at the embassy in Washington. He was posted as first secretary back in the early 1900s. I've had the privilege of traveling with the ambassador all across America to several cities, including a wonderful forum in Queens with Congresswoman Grace Meng. I've been impressed with the tremendous responses to his speeches and the fact that I forgot to turn off my telephone. He's doing a wonderful job as ambassador. Ambassador, we look forward to your remarks. Ambassador An. Sorry about
Thank you,
that.
Don. Thank you, Don, for your kind interest.
I'll bring the gong in about 5 minutes.
Exactly. I will try to keep the time. Well, it's such a challenge to speak after Charles Rangel and then after Manjullo. So let me just try to change the air a little bit, right? Happy Korean American Day. Thank you so much. Well, I think I better begin by in a sense, expressing my admiration for KI being so innovative. Why do I say that? It's because I think it was back in 2014, it was my first opportunity to come to this KI celebration of Korean American Day. And then that day, in fact, I came to find that KI every year, in fact, discovers and honors group of Korean Americans. And that year in 2014, it was a Korean engineer. Last year, it was a group of athletes that KI discovered and honored. This year, obviously, as we heard from Mr. Manjullo, then it is a group of culinary artists, let me put it that way, culinary artists that have been discovered and honored by the KI today. So that is the reason why I say how innovative KI is. And I went through the list of honorees today, and I was reminded of two anecdotes. All the necessary statistical data have already been provided to you by Mr. Manjullo. So I don't need to do it once again. So let me try to share with you some of the anecdotes which came up in my mind as I went through the list of honorees today. And then both of the anecdotes happened on the same day. And that same day was July 17th, 2013. It was a very important day for me. Why? Because that day I was presenting my credentials as Ambassador of Korea to the President of United States of America, President Obama. So that was July 17th, 2013. And it was my first opportunity to meet with the President of the country, President of the United States. So I just wanted to impress him. So I said, Mr. President, thank you so much. I have 3 points to make. And I said, first point, his rebalance to Asia. I complimented him about how that policy is being appreciated back in Korea as well as in other parts of Asia. My second point, it was about bilateral relationship between Korea and United States. My third point, I wanted to be a little bit on the light subject. So what I said was that, well, Mr. President, as I understand it, the First Lady, Michelle Obama, makes kimchi. Can you believe it? Michelle Obama makes kimchi. Not only that, she stuffs them into bottles and then gives them around as a gift, right? So I said, Mr. President, I guess maybe you have tried kimchi many times. And then President Obama just pointed out of the window of the Oval Office, and then he said, well, Mr. President, as a matter of fact, we grew cabbage in the garden of White House, and they grew this big. He said, this big. So we, in fact, have to make a lot of kimchi. And next thing President Obama told me was this, which was, but that's Michelle. I have another favorite Korean food. See? So I said to myself, it's getting better and better. And I asked him, what is that, Mr. President? And then he said, bulgogi. Is there anybody who doesn't know bulgogi? Everybody knows bulgogi, right? So that is the first episode. So I left the Oval Office and was coming back to my residence. And then there was a protocol officer working with Mark at the Department of State. And that protocol officer accompanied me from my residence to the White House. And then it was a lady. She was just sitting in the front of the car. And then she didn't say a word while we were from my residence to the White House. And then I was just leaving the White House. And then this lady, protocol officer from Department of State, she just turned back to me and then said, well, Mr. Ambassador, congratulations. And I said, thank you. And then she said, well, Mr. Ambassador, may I raise a question with you? And I said to myself, wow, this is going to be a big test for me, right? So I was bracing myself for a very difficult question. When I said, well, of course, any question, I'll be very glad to entertain the question with you. And then she said, well, Mr. Ambassador, where is the best Korean restaurant in town? Where is the best Korean restaurant in town? And I have to tell you, it was not the first time. I had to address that very difficult and important questions again and again and again, right? So there are the 2 episodes which happened on the same day, July 17th, 2013. And of course, when I share anecdotes with you, then of course I do it because I can draw a lesson out of it, don't I, right? So what's the lesson of it? What I think is this, which is that this is what I'm thinking all the time. Mr. Manzullo, he already told you, I used to serve in this town, Washington, D.C., back in 1990. But at the same time, before that, the first time I came to Washington, D.C. as a diplomat, that was back in 1981 as a 3rd secretary. In 1981, nobody asked me about where is the Korean restaurant. 1990, again, nobody asked me where the Korean restaurant was. It was only in 2013 that large number of people, senators, congressmen, director for the Korea desk, they just asked me, where is the good Korean restaurant? And I was telling myself, what in fact is responsible? What would be the explanation about this change? And I said to myself, there would be an answer on both sides. That is to say, on the demand side, as well as on the supply side. What I mean by the demand side, look at Americans. What is food? Food is not something you wear. Food is not something you put on your face. Food is something you take into your body, right? So if you do not feel comfortable about Korea, I don't think you will be interested in where the good Korean restaurant is, right? So that's on the demand side. On the supply side, today we are honoring culinary artists, right? And then without them, without this supply being made, quality Korean food being supplied to the American public, then I guess maybe there wouldn't be too many people who would be asking me that question, where do I find a good Korean restaurant? So that's the reason why I think KI, I really, really wonder how you came up with this idea. You are so innovative. And thank you so much for being so innovative. And at the same time, this is Korean American Day. Let's work harder so that we will come up with more interesting stories to tell about this growing, strong relationship between Korea and United States. Thank you so much and Happy New Year.
Title: Recognizing the Contributions of Korean Americans to the United States and Encouraging the Celebration of Korean American Day. Whereas on January 13, 1903, the arrival of 102 pioneer immigrants to the United States initiated the first chapter of Korean immigration to the United States. Whereas members of the early Korean American community served with distinction in the armed forces of the United States during the World War I, World War II, and the conflict in Korea. Whereas in the early 1950s, thousands of Koreans fleeing from war, poverty, and desolation came to the United States seeking opportunities. Whereas Korean Americans, like waves of immigrants to the United States before them, have taken root and thrive as a result of strong family ties, robust community support, and countless hours of hard work. Whereas the contributions of Korean Americans to the United States include the invention of the first beating heart operation for coronary artery heart disease, development of the nectarine, a 4-time Olympic gold medalist, and achievements in engineering, architecture, medicine, acting, singing, sculpture, and writing. Whereas Korean Americans play a crucial role in maintaining the strength and vitality of the United States-Korean partnership. And whereas the centennial committees of Korean immigration and Korean Americans have designated January 13th of each year Korean American Day to memorialize the more than 100-year journey of Korean Americans in the United States, now therefore be resolved that the Senate supports the goals and ideals of Korean American Day, commemorates the 103rd anniversary of the arrival of the first Korean immigrants to the United States, and encourages the people of the United States to share in such a commemoration in order to greater appreciate the valuable contributions Korean Americans have made to the United States, and to observe Korean American Day with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Thank you very much.
Mark Tokola, and I'm the Vice President of KEI. It's a great honor and pleasure for me to be able to introduce our moderator, Marja Vongerichten, chef, author, and television personality. You will know her as the host of PBS's The Kimchi Chronicles, and if you're lucky, you'll have a copy of her cookbook, Kimchi Chronicles: Korean Cooking for an American Kitchen, on your bookshelf. I do. It was named one of the best cookbooks of 2011. Marja has appeared on Martha Stewart's show, NBC's Today Show, and CBS's Early Show, and has been interviewed by the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and CNN. Born in Uijeongbu and adopted by an American family, Marja has a remarkable personal story that is highlighted in the Kimchi Chronicles. She was named Korean American Woman of the Year in 2011 by the magazine Cocoa Living. Let's give her a warm welcome.
Thank you for that. Thank you for having me here today. I'm really excited to get this panel discussion going. But in the meantime, we're going to watch a short video on the honorees that are being honored today. Please take a look.
When I everyone was afraid that I was going to become a cook, remember?
Oh,
You! Everyone said, oh no, you're going to become a cook. You thought I was going to be poor for my whole life. Now look at me. Are you proud of me?
oh yes, of course.
I'm always trying to figure out what else is out there, to take different cultures and let borders disappear. There's a whole panoramic vision of what we can eat that we're not exploring well enough. That's the beauty of American food, is that it is limitless. Tradition isn't stagnant. It's not meant to be. We have to change. The idea that tradition stands for one definition of anything, to me, is just ossification, that we become fossils at that point. And so for anything to be alive, to be vibrant, to be fresh, to be relevant, we have to take those traditions and just mold them a little bit, shake them up, see what comes out of it. I've always sort of fought with the idea of fusion. And I've always kind of searched for words or some kind of concept that would help me explain the fact that I need to kind of take foods from different cultures and let borders disappear. As chefs, we're always trying to push people to try new things. It was always a treat for me to sneak eel onto a menu where it's now accepted to do something a little bit funky, a little bit weird.
Long time ago, 20 years ago, maybe, my daughter and my husband, Dr. Gon, you are the, cookbook 한번 써보라고 그랬어요, cookbook을. 그런데 나는 못 쓰겠다. 그랬는데 나는 아주 어릴 적에도 이렇게 보고 한 가지 음식 보면 10가지 이상의 아이디어가 나왔어요. 나한테는. I have idea. 그건 나도 모르겠어. 왜 그렇게 나왔는지. 그리고 음식을 이렇게 하게 됐는데 my daughter하고 my husband, 책으로 써서 모든 세계 사람들한테 알려주는 게 좋겠다고 그래가 책 쓰기 시작했어요. 15 years ago I'm starting.
아니 책 쓰기는 she collected recipe. She's the last over 40 years. About 15 years ago, she wrote the first book. This is first English version Korean cookbook. That's why it became very popular.
I will then explain how to serve Korean radish. 16 hours.
쓰셔도 돼요. 네. 이제 양념이 다 이렇게 들어왔죠. 내가 보니까 이것도 이거 아우. 나는 세계에서 최고로 할 수 있다는 생각이 있어요. 저는 항상 내 요리가 어떤 사람한테서 보다가도 그때 장소와 어떤 분위기 이런 거에 따라서 다 그 데코레이션하고 그거는 제가 다 할 수 있는 게 자신이 있어요. 지금도. 이 음식을 어떻게 하면 이렇게 그 분위기에 맞춰서 할까 하고 그것만 생각하는 거예요. 음식하고 디자인하고 이런 건 그것만 생각하는 거예요.
Since we wrote this book, I hope this book is just pass on, to next generation of our next generation and also American peoples.
헬시하면서 아름답게 해서 모든 젊은 사람들이 내 했는 요리를 갖고 이렇게 먹고 건강하고 해피하게 살기를 바라요.
I grew up in Korea, in Seoul, and I think the best thing about growing up in Seoul is just proximity to all sorts of food that you get to experience. Just anywhere from, you go out to the market and having small stalls from different vendors selling all sorts of different things. And also the food is such an essential part of your family gatherings, and Koreans are, such a big family people. It's all about families, and center of it all is food. And so when you grow up, just kind of being the food is such an essential part of your life, you get to really appreciate it. For me, fusion is creativity. Fusion means limitless. Fusion means something that I can do without boundaries. And fusion is something that's really essential for my cooking as well as for a lot of chefs' cooking. When you think about cooking, cooking is all about feeding a soul, feeding people, giving people memories and experience. And fusion is what pushes the boundaries because it doesn't limit yourself to doing the same thing over and over again, but it allows you to create something different and something new. I feel very lucky that I get to cook. That means a lot to me, and more than anything, I get to cook who I am. I came to States when I was 15. I'm Korean American, and sort of what I get to cook is basically somewhat of this melting pot of those two cuisines that I've learned to grow and learned to love. I truly think that food is a universal language. It is something that can be understood by everyone. People from all different cultures, all different places, would understand what good food is, and I think being able to speak their language, being able to communicate it to all sorts of different people, I think that's such a privilege that I get to have.
Can everybody hear? Is this mic on? Yeah? Okay. Well, I know we just ate, but that made me really hungry. It's such an honor to have you guys here, and I can't wait to dive into these questions. I'm going to start with a question for all of you. So Korean food is becoming more mainstream in the United States. What do you think the signature dish of Korea should be to be represented, globally?
I think the bibimbap.
Bibimbap.
And bulgogi, that's Korean barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
That's most the popular in this country, I believe, yeah. And also you can use all different ingredients in bibimbap. You can use maybe 10, 15 different vegetables and meat, but basically it's very, very healthy,
Mm-hmm.
low calorie and low fat, and also using a lot of vegetables, different colors.
Yeah.
Different color is good for health.
It's good balance and it's tasty.
Yeah.
What do you think, Rachel?
For me, the interesting about the Korean food, especially not just the actual dish itself, but Korean barbecue, I would say is the one thing that actually really embodies what Korean food is all about. Because Korean barbecue is not just the food, but it's the way of eating. Korean barbecue really, it means party, basically. You have all your friends and family gathered around, and you're not just like sitting down, someone's just giving you food, and you're just being fed. But it's active eating, it's engaged eating. You're not just, eating of food and then be polite about it. You get down and dirty with Korean barbecue, and that's I think what is so fun about it's the whole family sharing experience you get to have.
Yeah, that's true, and you get to take the barbecue smell with you.
Oh yeah, I know. It'll be all over your hair.
Okay, for Mrs. Chang, you've authored 5 volumes of Korean cuisine, and you're known for promoting Korean cuisine. What inspired you to start?
My husband and my daughter name is Barbara, and why you cookbooks, you make them, I don't know. And then, my husband, please, you start and then Korean and English, please, he is, very,
encouraged you.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. I'm sure the hardest part about that was measuring, right? Because all Korean mothers, when they cook, there's no measurement. It's a little bit of this, little bit.
That's one thing I emphasize her. When she used that recipe, I said, don't even say about proper amount. This is very, we know proper amount, but the Americans, they don't know what's proper amount for
That's true.
kimchi. That's why I ask, whatever you use that the ingredient, just measure either tablespoon, teaspoon, or gram or something like that.
Right.
You know, that's why if you don't know anything about Korean food, but you can still cook Korean food according to the books, you know.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Because my daughter never know. She asked her about how much we put in. She said, well, just using the proper amount.
Just a little bit of this.
Just a little bit. But a little bit could be too much, you know.
Yeah. I had a hard time too when I was doing my cookbook. I had to actually get a scale and just do it the way I usually do by hand.
Why?
So I understand how difficult that is.
Right.
Chef, what attracted you and your husband to Seattle?
I've been in Seattle for almost a little over 10 years. I think it's just the whole different challenge of being on the West Coast that I've never been before. I grew up in upstate New York and then went to college in the East Coast. So kind of being on the West Coast was something really different. And then the fact that Seattle dining scene is really, when we first went out there about 10 years ago, it was very homogeneous. It was very much of the Northwest cuisine. There wasn't really a lot of Asian restaurants, Korean restaurants, and even though the fact that Seattle was located right on the Pacific Coast, so when we first went there, being able to cook something that is different and that is something new, that was obviously a very attractive idea to us.
Mm-hmm. Was it a challenge, you introducing Korean food to people? I mean, to get them to try things?
Yeah, it's definitely challenging because people have the idea of what Korean food is to them. I mean, obviously we talked about very staple items like bibimbap, bulgogi, kimchi, and all that stuff. But then to expand their ideas of what Korean food could be, and then how they need to how they are incorporated into the food that I'm doing, which is somewhat of Korean fusion. So it is a lot of education, a lot of advocating what food is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is a question for everyone here. What is your philosophy in cooking?
She heard from three, I think. She's very carefully choosing material because that has to be non-contaminated. I mean, because this food function is really easy. I mean, it's very sometimes very it's bad problem. So that's why she store clean and also not to get contaminated,
Right.
And second is nutrition. She think about nutrition, and the lastly arrangement. How it's beautiful dishes.
Plating, yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of a food designer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know in Korea they have in the college they have a food designer course. For 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But she was born with that idea,
Yeah.
But she arranged a lot of wedding flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Over 50 weddings, she provided
Wow.
flowers and the bouquet and everything, and all the display she did. Also, she cooked cake, wedding cake, and all kind of cake. She, still does sometimes important occasions. She does that,
That's great.
Yeah.
Your kimbap is beautiful. I've never seen more beautiful kimbap. Seriously.
I think idea, from God in the
Yeah.
Yeah, she thinks she was born with talent, She was born. She thinks,
Yeah,
That's
someone
evident.
make one dish, I saw that, I have an idea, 10 idea, 10, 20 idea I have. Yeah, I make them, if I make and, dish, and I have so many ideas there.
Yeah, it's kind of variations. If she look at the one dish, then she can make more than 10 dishes. Just a little bit different, That's why she almost never prepare same dish exactly ever. But it's always a little different, That's why maybe some followers get some tough time to follow that.
I'm going to have to study with Mrs. Chang. Seriously. And you? What's your philosophy of cooking?
It has changed quite a bit. When I first started cooking, it was all about learning the artistry, learning the craftsmanship of cooking, because itself is such a it's a never-ending journey of learning, because food can be something that you learn again and again. And I mean, there's so many things you have to learn about it, and it's amazing. But then as I open restaurants, what I've learned more about food and cooking that's really most amazing to me is about it's a vessel. It's a vessel that allows people to get together over food. It is a vessel that allows people to come together to create a memory. You go out to a nice restaurant, have a nice meal for your anniversaries, your birthdays, for holiday occasions. I mean, everything that happens in your life probably centers around food. And the fact that I get to be a person who get to create the vessel for a lot of people, so it's becoming allowing to give that experience to people, and it's just more than what I'm just cooking for myself or my family. It has become such a joy and kind of satisfaction that you get it from than anything else.
Wow. And how would you describe the Seattle food scene and your restaurant's role in it?
Yeah, Seattle food scene has gotten very diverse, and I think what I really am excited about is the fact that we've been doing this Korean fusion, and fusion is somewhat of a kind of a loaded term because of the fact that fusion is not really used in any other Western cuisine. It's always used by a chefs from Eastern culture, and using a Western ingredients is always then it's called fusion. Right. So for that to be kind of accepted and then to understood and to be trusted for what it is, because fusion is often you don't really know what you're getting. It's not an authentic bulgogi you're getting. It's not the authentic bibimbap you're getting. I have to build that trust with my customers, build that trust with the city. And I think after 10 years, the fact that people can come to our restaurant and expect that something that's different, something that's interesting, and I think that's what I'm most proud of at this point. And I think being in the city of Seattle, where it's really accepting and are open to different ideas. I mean, I'm really lucky to be there.
So cool, I'm sure, and they're lucky to have you. So, what do you like to eat when you're home? We have all day.
Almost vegetarian.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Vegetarian, yeah.
Yes, and then traditional and Korean.
Korean old traditional dish.
Yes.
Nobody much have more experience about that, like a 된장국,
soybean paste soup.
The paste pot, hot pot. It really it's old Korean, like about 40, 50 years ago. But now it's all becoming fusion like dishes. But she like old Korean style. That's why I don't have choice.
What do you eat?
I have two little boys, like you saw. They're adorable, but they are still trying to get their taste buds kind of opened up. So it's always pretty simple food. I mean, after cooking all sorts of different things at a restaurant, you kind of come home and you want to kind of cook something pot, simple food. So nothing fancy at home.
Yeah, same here. Same here. So, what is your favorite recipe from your cookbooks that you like to demonstrate, to teach?
Demonstration. Korean barbecue bulgogi, and then bibimbap. Because bibimbap is very healthy and diet food.
Yeah.
You saw me, and then every day, I'm bibimbap. Almost, one day we take, eat and 25, food, because each and then
with the ingredients on top.
Yes, and the red one and
all kind of colors.
All kind of color is eat in my husband doctor he knows.
He knows.
All different colors are good for health. That's why some Japanese restaurant they called rainbow donburi. They called that bibimbap rainbow donburi because it's just like rainbow, a lot of colors around there. That's carrot and green vegetable. Sometimes green, a lot of different colors. That's good for health also.
And I don't know if you all know this, but bibimbap, as simple as it sounds, is one of the most labor-intensive dishes to make because each individual ingredient has to be cut by hand, seasoned differently, you know, and it's really a labor of love. So you're lucky she makes that all the time for you.
Look at me. I'm lucky. I'm just keep getting fat now.
So as a mother of young children and the wife of a chef, how do you balance being a mother, chef, restaurateur? How do you do it?
Yeah, it's. I'm sure a lot of people are there. I mean, it's kind of funny thing to ask because we're in front of a lot of people who are busy people. So everyone manages. I mean, that's the thing about I think being a mother. There's lots of working mothers here, and like everyone learn how to manage all those things. So I think also being a chef is basically when you're working. It's all about organization. It's all about kind of multitasking.
Yeah.
So you end up multitasking your kids, work, restaurant, house.
Yeah.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
I know. You are good at it. So I wanted to say, how do you strike a balance between the conservative instinct that authentic foods should remain static and your own creativity as a chef?
I think there is a place for everyone and place for everything. As diverse as we are in the group of, just one single room, everyone has their favorites, everyone has their, go-tos, everyone has something they want to go back to having it all the time versus everyone has something they want to go out for, experience something new. And I think I'm just a piece of puzzle in this big culinary scene. And I'm not going to pretend that I can cook everything that is authentic to everything that's brand new. And I have my little niche that I created that is my food, and it pushes boundaries in different ways. I get to provide, a lot of our clientele, a lot of our guests here with something that is, Korean enough and that's different enough that makes it really interesting for them to be like, oh wow, I've never had this, dish that has gochujang before. I should try it because this is really delicious. I mean, I don't know how I'll use it, but it gives them a gateway food to experience something different. So I'm happy to be playing that part of the whole universe of different kind of cuisines that's going on.
What chef or individual is a role model for you? You all?
There's never one. She thinks she's the best. Really, she never learned cooking. I mean, no lesson.
It's just a natural talent.
Yeah, that's a natural talent. Because I saw if she look at the one dish, she can make 10 different dishes from one dish. So
I'm telling you, I need
that's why there's no.
some time.
Yeah, she got talent here.
Well, who inspires you in your cooking?
Cooking.
Who
is,
or what inspires you?
My mother, Yeah. Very younger, 5 years, I am a very younger, My mother, make, Korean food,
Right.
She's the best, Yes. Oh, I have an idea. Very younger,
At 4?
5 years
Wow.
ago, 5 years, I'm there. I'm very easy, I make, whole, food, I make very easy,
Really?
Today is, this is a beautiful dish on today, and then I have an idea, Yeah, another idea. I don't know why.
The different thing is.
I need some of these ideas.
When we go to a restaurant, American restaurant or Korean restaurant, after she tastes once, then she knows what ingredient, That's not easy to everybody understand, but she knows most of the stuff, they use what kind of material, Yeah. But the other thing is she's kind of cautious about ingredient because Korean food tend to be salty and hot. So many people like that, but some people don't like that because of health,
Yep.
So that's why when she provide Korean cuisine, she tried to use less salt, less hot stuff. Or you can use salt or any time, or hot paste. You can use any time, but at the beginning, for more people, understand or can taste this in between, it's not too salty.
And you?
I should say my mom too, because my mom's watching this in Korea. I love you. But I do actually, I got an opportunity to work with Chef Thomas Keller, who's a famous, obviously, French laundryman per se. I think what I've learned is it's not about cooking, but it's about being a chef. And I think, when you are a chef, I had an experience to go to an event with him out in Napa Valley. And then it was basically, a catering event for 50-some people in this winery. And then we had this lavish dinner. And then after the dinner was over, he was actually the first one who picked up the garbage can and then started cleaning up in the kitchen. Yeah. And that's when I realized, oh my God, you are like the god of culinary scene. You're Thomas Keller. Why are you doing this? But it just that his humbleness of the food is it's not just what you put it on the table. It's about all the effort that just like the Mrs. Chang was saying about the careful selecting of ingredients to all this prep work that you're going through to the final end of cleaning up and organizing and just showing you are still working and you're still part of the this service industry. Because what we do is we are here to please everyone. We're here to service everyone, and that sometimes is a difficult job for a lot of people because they think about they want to create this amazing food, and it's all like, look at my creation, it's me, it's not what I'm doing, And when you try to do this and realize, hey, this is a restaurant. I'm so lucky to have all these people coming to our restaurant and eating my food, and I love the fact that I can be part of their memory. They can talk about and remember forever, and that's kind of really the most important part of thing that I've learned that I took away. And then I think that's what makes me want to open a restaurant, what makes me want to be a part of this.
How about a favorite cooking technique or style that isn't Korean? Do you have one?
Cooking style?
Cooking style. My cookbook, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then, second book is, almost, Korean, this we are feeling them. And then, third book and the one book and fourth book is, everybody, all world, countries, everybody like, and recipe. And I have an idea why after the, young generation, and the young generation is, must be a recipe, inhere them, and then, my Korean food, and then, fusion, and then fusion and the fusion make, I have an idea, and then, everybody, enjoy them,
Oh, yes, that's great.
Yeah.
So you have fusion recipes in your cookbooks?
Yeah, cookbooks.
That's great.
Yes.
Mixed, yeah.
It's great.
Because that first Korean book, the recipe is mainly from all the time. About 40, almost 50 years ago, when we arrived at Altoona, the small coal mine town, Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
We got there first time. That's about 45 years ago. So they didn't have any grocery. There's no Korean food. There's no only about 2 families, Korean families over there. That's all. So when she went first time grocery, so she went to AMP. AMP, this is big. She was so shocked. It's just so big, So, but she tried to get something to cook Korean food, but it's very difficult. Like she got cantaloupe. She thought it's pumpkin. When she came home, then cut. It looks like it's gosh. The pumpkin is like a fruit, Now we found out that was the really fruit.
From 1970, my husband, the internship is from Korea, and then, 45 years ago, no food, no Korean,
Yeah.
restaurant,
Yeah.
Yes.
Only about a couple small restaurants in New York City and LA. So most of guests, customers are Korean, except for very little group. There's Korean who are veterans. Sometimes they come to enjoy. They still have some, they still remember the taste. Yeah, but now it's very popular.
Very common.
Yeah.
I know them. It's AMP grocery. Only cucumber and ground beef. Oh my gosh, ground beef.
Did you get an idea?
Yeah, I have an idea.
Yeah, that's why I could survive.
I see. Chef Yang, what combinations of ingredients would you have thought would never work together but actually work quite well together?
We actually made a lot of different things. I mean, that's sort of what I have to do. I mean, when you're trying to do a fusion food, you're trying to come up with different ingredients and combinations. We once did a natto gnocchi, which you don't.
Gnocchi, wow.
Yeah, so it's basically gnocchi. It's basically little potato dumplings, and then natto is fermented, soybeans from Japan, and we made a little dumplings with the natto, and then served it with little mushrooms, and it was one of those things people wouldn't really understand or think why it wouldn't work, but then the earthiness of the potato and then just kind of little funkiness of the soybeans worked really well.
I'm sure the texture was chewy, a little sticky.
Yeah, which actually works with the gnocchi because gnocchi has a little bit of chewiness.
Kind of like duck.
Yeah,
a little bit. Very cool. I like that. I might have to come just to try that. How are you reflected in your cooking?
I feel like I got pretty lucky that I sort of discovered that this is what I wanted to do, doing this kind of Korean fusion, and because I feel like this is really 100% me. I don't have to pretend that I'm not who I am. The food that I'm cooking couldn't be Korean 100% because the fact that I moved here when I was 15, I'm half American, half Korean at this point. So creating something that's new, something that's different, I think that's what made me recognize for what I get to do, and then that made me just be true to myself and doing the stuff that I love to do. So, yeah.
And the combining of elements from different cuisines is often referred to as fusion. What are your thoughts about this approach to cooking? I mean, obviously, it's what you do.
Well, actually, when I first started cooking, when people called our food fusion, it was. I didn't really own it before. I felt like, oh gosh, it's modern Korean, it's American. So you start kind of making different categories because people have to put you in a box. People have to label your food. And why are the Asian chefs are the only ones who had to be called fusion when they do something different? And then I realized later, it's gosh, fusion is actually the best compliment that I can get. Fusion is what fusion means is that when you're basically creating something different, what it means is you're actually combining different styles or ingredients and flavors or textures. And as a chef, who wouldn't want to be doing that? We all want to be. We never want to be limiting ourselves in a certain types of cuisines or pantries. And a lot of restaurants you go to nowadays all have ingredients from all over the world. I mean, that's all basically our toys that we get to play. I mean, why would you be just stuck in one side of it? So I think
you'd be stuck in the A&P.
Unless you have to.
What's a favorite ingredient that you like to use? What's your favorite ingredient?
You mean what material or sauce?
I mean, it could be like a seasoning, a sauce. It could be a vegetable.
Seasoning, yeah. Like a sauce, Korean food main sauce is soybean sauce.
Right.
Soybean sauce. And there's some sesame oil.
Sesame oil.
But you use olive oil or corn oil here. But in Korea, most of them are sesame oil and and hot pepper paste. It's really,
Gochujang.
really strong, but really good. Yeah. Some people say they love that,
That's great. Do you make gochujang?
Yeah, gochujang, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's difficult. Takes some heart muscle. Ooh. And how about you? What's your favorite ingredient?
I like any kind of fish sauce, actually.
Me too.
Gosh, it's like, I mean, like Korean food is, I mean, we talked a little bit about it, but like why it's so amazing is it's all those like fermented items that we get to use. I mean, like, all the gochujang, kanjang, doenjang, fish sauce and salted shrimp and all that stuff. It's all the fermentation, and when it's which is all done by basically nature and time, and it's the whole that's I think why people are so excited about Korean food, because that's something we don't get to have it in America.
That's true.
And that's what makes it so interesting and different, and all the layers of flavor that add so much to it, and you can have so much fun at that.
For sure. I love fish sauce. I put it in my eggs,
I know.
rice. I know. Well, what do you think are some underappreciated aspects of Korean food? Speaking of fermentation.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, the fact that Korean food is still being seen as one kind of food, and the fact that, Korea itself is, like South Korea is the size of half of Washington State. It's such a small country, but when we go to Korea, like there's so much different regional foods, so many different specialties, and none of those that are represented quite yet here in America. So I think I'll be really interested to see in the coming years, like how specialized Korean food can be, and we can be recognized for it.
And what do you think of? I guess I'm trying to phrase this question a little differently, but if you were going to serve one dish to someone who's never tried Korean food, they think it's stinky, spicy, they're scared of it, what would be that one dish that would kind of convey?
The Korean barbecue. bulgogi, Korean barbecue.
Yeah, that always works.
That's very general. General people like it generally. Like Korean food is just too strong taste time, too salty. That's why I try to use less amount,
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, some people say, Korean kimchi, oh no,
I know.
smells no good. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, everybody,
Yeah, the first time. Well, I always compare kimchi to cheese. People have no problem eating 12-year-old cheese.
That's all.
But they hear, that it's like kimchi's 2 weeks old. They're like, But I think it's just educating.
All fermented,
Yeah.
cheese or fermented kimchi, doenjang, all this fermented. It's good, really.
Mm-hmm.
It is good.
Great. What role do you think food plays in the expression of a culture?
Food is usually related to each country's culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think in old Korean days, like Lee Dynasty is a couple 300 years or 400 years ago, they respect parent really. In the world, there's the best respect of people's parent.
Mm-hmm.
That's once the parent pass away, they do a memorial service every year, same day, like a memorial.
The Korean Thanksgiving.
Yeah, there's certain rule. The big table. There's a lot of dishes. All kinds of vegetable, fruit, and the meat and fishes. All there are some rules. How to arrange, how to cook. That's all rule. Those I think the beginning of the Korean main dishes. That's usually it has been coming on so far. But now it's more popular. It's whole world is more. It's now become more popular and more exposure to other countries. That's why it's becoming more and more fusion style. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How do you think food relates to?
Food is. We all say you are what you eat. That just embodies what everyone is. And we're just talking about how you meet someone from stranger from different parts of the world. Talk about food. Ask them what they eat, what they like to eat, and you can basically connect instantly.
Mm-hmm.
So.
This is so true. And there's so much history, I think, in every culture's food,
sure.
which is, I think, in every culture in the world is really fusion.
Yeah.
Over time, at some point,
they all got something from each other.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. What does Korean food say about Korea and Korean Americans? Or let's just say, what does it say about Korea?
I think Korean food, it talks about how bold and strong we are.
This is true.
And I think, what kind of countries can handle that kind of spiciness? What kind of country can? We're the only country who, when we want to have something cold, we'll put ice in it. I mean, the naengmyeon is a good example. Like it's frozen, basically shaved ice in there. If you want something hot, they'll bring a fire to your table.
Boil your,
Yeah. Talk about the characteristics of culture and the food. I think there's nothing like that.
This is true.
Yeah.
And I don't know any other culture that eats whole garlic cloves with barbecue.
That too. That's pretty daring as well.
Yeah, it is. What role do you see as the role of Korean food in American culture?
I think it's the fact that Korean food is being accepted. I think that says a lot about how the rise of the Korea, the status itself. I think the fact that Korea is no longer exotic, subculture of partially Asian food, but now it stands on its own. I think that says a lot about where we are here, in Korean food in America.
That's true. Very true. What do you see as the role of Korean food in American culture?
Yeah, it's kind of bridging two cultures, Korean food becoming, because as I told you, there are certain way of, when the funeral service or memorial service, they do certain rule, they just keep passing down to us, So then now becoming more fusion than regular American peoples also become like that, because that's not very strong, not very salty,
Right.
Yeah.
I think Americans are becoming more and more aware of the health properties of
exposure to
Korean food as well.
Not only Korean food, Japanese food, Chinese food, all becoming very popular in this country,
That's great.
Yeah.
Finally. Okay. So one last question for you, Chef. What is your favorite dish? Let's say you have a customer come to your restaurant for the first time, doesn't know anything about your food or Korean food. What would you recommend that they try?
All three restaurants actually serve a type of galbi, short rib. And it's actually, I don't have to do anything to it. It's an easy winner. And people, especially so we cook it somewhat like steak style, but then we marinate it so it's super nice and tender. And everyone was like, what do you do to this meat? It's so flavorful and so tender and so nice. And I think it's one of those things that it just tells you how Koreans can be very resourceful. It's tough cut of meat. And here in America, you have to braise it for 6 hours to get it really tender. And here, in Korea, they just, found this magical marinades that makes it super tender and tasty. That just shows the geniusness of the cuisine itself, and it's an easy win.
I want to try that too. I'm coming to Washington. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we're good on time. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Marja.
Thank you. Ooh.
Okay, it's time for our official award. So first, please, J. Oak Chang. Will you please come up? And Rachel Yang.